Well, hello, everyone. I am Matt Williamson at Williamson NFL, and I owe you an apology. I screwed up. I've seen many of you at camp, by the way. I want to get that out of the way. And random, love the podcast, Williamson. Hey, Matt, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. Listen every day. Thank you. That's very, very cool. But I owe you an apology because apparently the podcast is quite popular. And I, again, thank you. But I don't think any of you can compliment me on my technical skills. So one day ago at this time, after practice one of padded, I sat here in my dorm room, and it's going to sound a little different here. I apologize. But I had a beautiful podcast, and I screwed up it all technically. I fouled it, and it was too late by the time I realized that I had screwed it all up technically from my GarageBand settings. Totally on me. That is certainly one of the weaknesses in my game. So it was brilliant too. Oh, by the way, probably not. But you were deprived of a phenomenal podcast. So now I'm going to kind of recap the first two padded practices. So I'm recording this Wednesday night. And we'll kind of go position by position with a couple standout people, players, of course. To this point, Russell Wilson is still highly involved, but not running much. I mean, his calf is bothering him a little bit. The first practice, I'm talking about these two padded practices. The field was very wet. I don't think they wanted him sliding or doing anything like that, but he's working after. He's heavily involved. No concerns there, folks. He's a starting quarterback. Justin Fields, to me, is certainly better now with pads and able to run and be more of a football player as opposed to a 7-on-7 quarterback. But he still misses throws that make you shake your head. And sometimes his feet don't marry his upper body and gets out of whack. But boy, is he a weapon. And we will have, you and I, a long conversation about what should he be doing on game day as the backup. I mean, a lot of Taysom Hill plus much better thrower stuff has crossed my mind, but I also want to put Wilson on the bench. I'd like to see Wilson more before we have this conversation. One side note that I found was interesting on Wednesday, it was definitely interesting. It was a pretty good brawl, was Fields, as he does, takes off, runs in a team setting where it's physical, but you're never allowed to touch a quarterback. And Landon Roberts hit the quarterback. Now, I don't know if Roberts knew it was Fields. I mean, in Pittsburgh, they don't wear different colors. They don't wear the red jersey or anything here. But nonetheless, you do not hit quarterbacks no matter what, even if they're ball carriers and, running you over, whatever. So Roberts hits Fields, and immediately McCormick comes flying over. Mason McCormick, the rookie, blasts Roberts from behind. Don't you hit my quarterback, which I'd love to see. And there was a pretty good 20, 30-man battle for quite a while, which I have a feeling Coach Tomlin loved, as did I. There was a lot of attitude with that O-line and with overall, which I loved seeing. That's basically the gist of my quarterback notes. Talking running backs, Jaylen Warren in Backs on Backers yesterday, Tuesday, was phenomenal. Stoning guys left and right. Some of the best ones on the team, Patrick Queen, Roberts, Najee was also quite impressive. Both have been really impressive in 7 shots, tight yardage stuff, inside run, backs on backers. But Warren, to me, is a really good player that looks better than ever. The rest of the group, I have not yet seen a standout. I'm kind of interested in Edwards, kind of interested in Pirine. But this brings me to Jack Coletto. Jack Coletto? Who the heck's Jack Coletto, Matt? He's the fullback. There's one fullback on this team, and he's a pure fullback. He is a banger. I don't know how good he is on special teams, but obviously that'll be important for him to be a contributor here. But more and more, especially since the pads came on, he's out there a lot. I think he's going to make the team. I mean, he is a downhill banger. In 7 shots today, again, this Wednesday, he opened a hole for Najee that you and I could have went through. So I think Jack Coletto is going to be an NFL player for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which when we get further down the road, we can talk about, Well, where do you get that roster spot from? Is that one less receiver? Is that one less tight end? We know that they're going to use tight ends a lot. So that I don't know. But when you see more and more of a player through camp, that's a really strong sign that they like him. And I can see why. I mean, he is what you're looking for at that position. BetOnline's your number one source for all your summer sports this season, for Major League Baseball, golf, and many more. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Yeah, we were just talking tight ends. Let's talk tight ends. Freiermuth has been impressive, but I was more impressed with his pre-pads. No concerns, but they were just, running around without physicality, 7-on-7s, things like that. They're featuring him quite a bit. Michael Pruitt's fitting in well. Rodney Williams returned. He had a scare and missed a day, but he's going to be hard to cut because he's really good on special teams as well. As is Connor Hayward, who is much motion as they've run. I think of him a lot as a motion player and an effective one and a good route runner. I think he's having a good camp. But to me, Darnell Washington's the story of the tight ends. Obviously, his size jumps off the page, but he is definitely a crisper, sharper, better accelerator, better mover than I thought he was a year ago. Not that he is super twitchy. He's not. But like backs on backers also includes edge defenders and tight ends. Washington got the first snap against Highsmith. I mean, that means, that's an honor. See what you can do against Highsmith. Highsmith tried to go right through him, didn't budge. I mean, he kind of starting to look like an offensive tackle in protection, and it takes a lot of steps to get around him. And he's being used downfield more. So Darnell Washington has been a potential step-up player. Pickens is Pickens. I mean, I think they're trying to look at the other receivers more than him, to be honest with you, but he's making some spectacular plays. You've probably seen some clips of that. Calvin Austin has been good, but I don't think he's been quite as good the last 2 days with the physicality. Van Jefferson, to me, is going to make this team, and if it were up to me right now, he would be the number 2. I think he's reliable. He's solid. All the things we thought, but a little better in person than I originally thought. I don't have an update right now on Roman Wilson's ankle, but he's in a boot. He's on crutches. You're hearing week to week. That doesn't sound terrible, but there's a lot of instances of rookies that have a setback like this, then never get back on the moving train their rookie year. And he was really starting to look good to me. So this is unfortunate. We'll see. He's certainly smart. He's a very hard worker. But the team can't wait for you, and it's really hard to catch up as a rookie if you have a substantial training camp injury, and people will blame him all year. Oh, you had a bad rookie year. Well, sometimes you just never quite keep up, and that's not crazy. This O-line to me is really exciting. I mean, Fatanu looks like a star. He really does. I mean, he had a rep against TJ Watt in the first on Tuesday where he got smoked, but no harm in that. I mean, great right tackles get smoked by TJ all the time, but he rebounded in a big, big way. His lateral agility is off the charts. Broderick looks great, but he's been pretty much right tackle only. I'm thinking he's going to slide back to the left and replace Moore sooner than later, so the rookie can be your right tackle. I don't know that change is coming at center as soon because Nate Herbig has been very impressive. Spencer Anderson has been very impressive. Dylan Cook, to me, is absolutely an NFL player. So they have 10. They go 2 deep across the board with NFL players to me, and probably only 9 are going to make the team. So this O-line's pretty interesting to me. Switch it over to defense. Don't have as much to report here, to be honest with you. I mean, Cam, Watt, Minka, they all sat out Wednesday. Fine. Let everyone else battle it out. 2 guys that have stood out to me up front, though. Ogunjobi had a nice practice today. Don't want to forget about him. Liao It's a make or break time for him. I think he's a little more explosive. I think he's got a better understanding. Good on like loops and stunts. He's had a lot of good reps on one-on-one. So I think Liao's having a very good camp. And Fehoko keeps showing up, even as a pass rusher. When he comes off the ball low, man, he is a lot to handle. So I don't know if he can make the team. I mean, can you keep 3 tight noses? But Benton isn't always nose. We'll see how that works out, but good problem to have. The edge guys, they're not asking. I mean, TJ Satt, Highsmith, they're working the other dudes. Herbig looks as good as he has. No concerns there. David Perales is a guy I think they kind of like, but he got banged up today. Not sure what's going on there. And Julius Welshoff is an interesting player. He's 6'6", dude. There would be a free roster spot because of the international rules, but he's made some plays too. At linebacker, Queen flies around the field. Not much to worry about there. But Peyton Wilson's definitely been the story at off-the-ball linebacker. He makes a lot of plays. There was a couple reps on backs on backers, especially against Warren, where I thought his pads got too high as a tall, skinny guy and, couldn't stone the smaller, better leveraged player. But man, I mean, early in camp, it seemed like he was swimming a little bit with just the play calls and all the mental stuff they gave him. But I think he's calmed down with that. I mean, and he's still handling all of it with the second team. I think you're going to see quite a bit of Peyton Wilson this year. My real safety take is, and I like this a lot, especially while Sutton is suspended, Elliott, Minka, and KZ have been on the field a lot in a big nickel package. And what's nice about that is all 3 can play the slot. All 3 could be in 2 high. All 3 could be in single high. So when they break the snap and when those 3 are out there, you don't exactly know who's lining up where. And it also is a nice situation for the nickel, trying to patch that together, which brings me to Beanie Bishop. He's the WVU kid. He's been everything cracked up to be. I mean, he's doing a lot of battles with Calvin Austin. He plays hard. I'd be shocked if he doesn't make the team. But Graydon Arnold is maybe the unsung hero from camp that I didn't expect to be talking about. Didn't know much about him, doing more and more homework on him. Spent some time with the Eagles and Texans, has a good special teams background, which is great. He's a thicker bodied nickel. Had a pick today. He consistently makes plays on the ball. And a couple of these guys, and he's the best poster boy for this, you just see them more and more, 35's out there again. 35's out there with good players. 35 made a play. Graydon Arnold is a guy to look at because if he could be a gunner, or I don't know what all he'll do on special teams, but he might fight for that nickel spot and has some physicality for him. The rest of the corner group, I really don't have a huge take on. Porter's fine. Wish I had a better feel for Trice and Rush, but it's early and I'll get back to you on that. And that's about it. Oh, I want to talk about Cameron Johnston too. He's one of my favorite players to watch in camp, the punter. I mean, he has so many clubs in his bag. He can boom it. He can hit deep spirals with great height, or he can do a lot. Again, it's a golf type of thing. I mean, he can drive it or he can pull out the irons and he can make that thing stick on the green. I mean, he has a wide variety of punts in his bag with excellent control. I just saw him messing around. He's dropping the ball consistently, having it die on the 5. That's going to be a huge upgrade. Johnston, to me, is a very underrated pickup. And I don't see any bad stuff. I mean, if you just could eliminate the shanks that Harvin had, which I haven't seen any of those here, nor should you. I mean, it's not December in Buffalo or anything. But his variety of punts that he has in his bag is pretty darn good. So I think that's going to be a great pickup. So all in all, vibes are good here. It's 2 practices in. My apologies again for screwing up yesterday's podcast. You guys were robbed of pure gold, I'm sure. But over now. Take care.